Okay, so this may come out as a rant, but I've been thinking since Tyrann or since Fizban's Treasury of Dragons came out. Holy fuck. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah. Sorry, something distracted me for a second, but I've been thinking since Tyranny of Dragon since Fizban's Treasury of Dragons came out that certain things within like dragon mythos kind of overlap in weird ways between the various different worlds. And I'm just kind of going to go through these, and it's going to be odd. So we're going to start with the eulogy for the first world. And bear with me, if I can't speak this right, I'm going to edit this and add in a machine saying it, but otherwise we'll see. Breathe, dragons, sing of the first world, forged out of chaos and painted with beauty. Sing of Bahamut, the platinum, molding the shape of mountains and rivers. Sing too of chromatic Tiamat, painting all over the infinite canvas. Partnered they woke in the darkness, partnered they labored in acts of creation. Breathe, dragons, sing of Ceridor, ruby red jewel that made their likeness. Ceridor, firstborn of dragon kind, labored alongside Bahamut and Tiamat, shaping the dragons they crafted. Dragons metallic and chromatic, breathe dragons, draw in the life gift, breathed into you at the dawn of creation. Breathe dragons, sing now of Tiamat. Oh, wrong one. Breathe dragons, sing now of outsiders, warbringer gods with their mortal adherents. Teeming they came to the first world, seeking a home for their legion of followers. Mighty in magic and numbers, conquering deities seized their victory. Fallen was noble Behemoth. Ceridor hid at the heart of creation. Breathe dragons, sing now of Tiamat, raging in battle with no hope of victory. She would not flee or surrender, fighting as death reached its cold claws towards her. Warbringers seized her and bound her, snatched her from death, and entombed her in torment. Sealed in the darkness forever, captive to gods laying claim to creation. Breathe dragons, sing now of conquest. Seedlings, seeding the world with their legion of followers, each to their own habitation. Elves in their forests, dwarves in their mountains, orcs in their caverns and canyons, goblins in badlands and halflings in green fields, lizard folk lurking in marshes, and humans throughout every part of creation. Breathe, dragons, sing of Bahamut, maker of peace with the outsider deities. Welcomed to the mountains of celestials, worshipped by some as the platinum paladin. Sing of his journey of seeking, striving to understand gods and their children, longing for Tiamat's freedom, grieving for her loss from the face of creation. Breathe dragons, sing of her freedom. Tiamat loosened from her prison of torment. Tell how she rallied her children, dragons chromatic, spectrum of mayhem. Sing of her fury, her vengeance, lightning and venom, ice, fire and corrosion. Five-headed monstrous and mighty, rampaging on a campaign of destruction. Breathe dragons, sing of the first world, scattered in infinite seedling realities. Sing of Bahamut and Tiamat, watching as its sundering, mourning their labor. Sing too of Ceridor sundered, consciousness, shattered, in minuscule fragments. Breathe dragons, you are the inheritors, ruling the wreck of the first world's destruction. So, as I've just gone through, that is what seems to be the creation mythos of dragons, though it's a little not quite perfect, or not quite in line with certain other things, especially of the various worlds having their own creation mythos. Once again, some of them even involving dragons, many of them, in fact, involving dragons. First of all, while I'm not particularly familiar with the Dragonlands creation mythos, I am familiar with the fact that Paladine and Tiamat are constantly at war. Paladine being the Platinum Dragon, much like Bahamut the Platinum, so we could reasonably say that they are, if not the same person, perhaps different incarnations of the same person. Fizban, the author of Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, is in fact a human avatar of Paladine in the Dragonlands world, from what I understand, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but so we kind of have to see certain things throughout here, where he talks about Cyrodiil, being constantly praising him or some such thing. I can't find the exact page, and I don't really want to look, but as almost a grain of salt, when, as you look through this, Cyrodiil hid at the heart of creation. So did Cyrodiil hide? Were they killed? And honestly, almost from a different perspective, was Cyrodiil the first world itself, as is kind of hinted at in a couple different things from the Gem Dragons? They're the inheritors of Cyrodiil. Also stating that she was destroyed at some point within this book. One of them states that Cyrodiil was destroyed, and we are the inheritors of her mantle or her power. So, was Cyrodiil the first world, or was she destroyed during the destruction of the first world? I kind of want to say she was destroyed, and that actually leads me more towards Eberron, which the main reason I'm really at all concerned with Eberron is because I'm doing a campaign in Eberron, and as such, that's kind of the field that I've been studying around and playing with lately. So, we'll kind of get to that. But as you've read through this, like, I feel like Tiamat is painted a much brighter light than she is painted in any other thing. Like, I almost despise Bahamut for making peace with the people that destroyed his world a lot more, and then praise Tiamat for raging against the tyranny that's fallen upon her. So, in some ways, I can kind of say that I more agree with Tiamat in this particular case. Now, I don't want to lose that page, but I might, depending on how that falls. We're going to go with the history of Eberron, and first thing that pops up through in the section of the history of Eberron, and not even the first chapter, I think it's just the preface of Welcome to Eberron, is the story of the creation of the planet of Eberron, or Colvert is the continent it takes place on, but Eberron is the planet, as opposed to, like, the Sword Coast being where you play most of your games in Faerun, and Faerun being the place, being the actual setting. Forgotten Realms being where you play everything. The naming conventions throughout the years have changed quite a bit, but nonetheless, we go through. Every child knows the story of the progenitor dragons, Cebius, Eberron, and Kiefer. In the dawn of time, these three cosmic beings created the 13 planes of the existence, each embodying a concept. Their final work was the material plane, where all ideas would become manifest. A world that would know war and peace, life and death, chaos and order. But cruel Kyber sought ultimate dominion over this new reality. She struck Sybaris without warning and tore him apart. Eberron wrestled with Kyber, bound the traitor in her coils, but could not defeat her, so Eberron became a living prison. A world that would forever contain Kiefer's evil soul. Or Kiefer's evil, it doesn't actually say soul there, but like, I don't know. I felt like ad-libbing apparently, which doesn't work. So, once again, we have a story of three dragons. So you can almost analogize, say, maybe one of these dragons. I'm thinking Cerberus and Ceodor, or Sorador. Let me look at the actual... Ceridor are more or less the same person in this particular case. Both are either destroyed or disappeared. In the case of Eberron, it is literally the ring around the planet. And in that case, you could almost say, but because of the way planetary bodies work in our own world, perhaps the prophecy is expressed later on in Fizban's as it relates to Eberron could in fact be the rising of Sirius, or the rising of Ceridor again, the converging of the asteroids slowly crushing back together to become a moon, and recreating once again the dragon of Cerberus, and the resurrection of Ceridor in that particular sense. Those kind of analogous forms. And I just feel like there's very much constantly three dragons in a lot of D&D mythos. Quite frankly, there's the good, evil, and neutral of them. And then we have Kiefer and Eberron. In this case, I'm not entirely sure which I think it's more like, Bahamut or Tiamat, for Kiefer and Eberron. Kiefer raging and destroying does seem like Tiamat, but the almost loyalty to Cerberus, I almost would place Tiamat being similar to Eberron in that case, but the overall aspect of destruction being very much Tiamat's. Okay, apparently somehow I missed that even though I just read it, but there is a part in the Draconic Prophecy, or the Eulogy of the First World, which I'm actually going to say is part of the Draconic Prophecy with an Eberron, because it makes sense and I like it. But first it says Ceridor hid in the heart of creation. Then afterwards Bahamut makes peace with the gods that invaded. Afterwards Tiamat frees herself from her bonds. And then there's mentions of Torment rallying her children, Spectral Mayhem, and a campaign of destruction. Afterwards, it looks like the first world is then destroyed and shattered into thousands of seedling worlds, which is where you get our worlds of today as far as the dragons are concerned. Which means that within this context, Tiamat actually killed Ceridor, who is hidden inside the heart of creation. Therefore, Tiamat is Kiefer. Tiamat is the destroyer. Alright, there we go. Hopefully that made sense, and I can edit some of this gobbledygook out. Alright, one more thing. I guess the Draconic, the Dragon Sight. The Dragon Sight is, essentially it's the ability for dragons to see through the prime material plane into different versions of themselves throughout the prime material plane. Now, they are, that doesn't make sense with, like, the Spelljammer version, looking at the universe in which everything is unique within that particular bound version, but we're going to ignore that, I guess, entirely for now, because, frankly, there's no, I can't think of many good ways to fit that into Eberron either, so, well. So, within this, it could be that, the Draconic Prophecy is a real thing, and includes, one, the destruction of the previous world and the resurrection of Cerberus. Or it could also be them looking into different material planes, such as Faerun, Dragonlance, and whatever homebrew world you have, and creating and drawing parallels in order to figure out what's going to happen in this real world, which means the Dragon Sight could be technically almost the real reason for the Draconic Prophecy, though it could be something else entirely, and I'm more inclined to even believe something else entirely, because a true prophecy seems more fun than being parallels that you kind of and half-drawn conclusions. Alright, so ultimately the conclusion of this is there is no conclusion. This entire thing was just me trying to figure out different ways that this could work. And I kind of know how I'm going to treat it, as if the first world is partially canon in at least Eberron, and that being something just and it just having been a tale that's been twisted throughout time, replacing all of the words of Tiamat with Kiefer and all of the Cyrodiil with Cerberus and Eberron with Bahamut with Eberron. Those kinds of things is just kind of how I'm going to treat it. But that's just how I'm going to. Maybe there's something else entirely that you think would work well. And if so, put it in the comments so I can steal it or take it and modify it to fit the way I want to play with the game, I suppose.